Modifying the car wash. So this machine does a thing right now. I don't know why it's doing it, whether it be a blocked or a kinked line or whatnot, but during the wash, this right brush will push so hard against the vehicle while the other one's kind of And that's odd to me because they get both the same exact air pressure from the regulators over here. And I have that set where it's supposed to be. Oops, I have the air shut off right now, but it's supposed to be 45 PSI there. But this left, right brush is acting like it's getting the full 110 that the whole machine gets for some reason. It pushed really hard. So I'm at a loss to what to do, so I had this idea, why not put a pressure regulator at each air cylinder to see if I can even it out that way. So I got this little doodad set up here. I can adjust the pressure here if I need to. I can watch what the pressure's at when the brushes are being pushed in. And I need to do it to both sides because affecting the pressure on just one side only will affect how it operates over here too. So if I can regulate both sides, that would be ideal. Let's get back here. So I have the air line coming from the air manifold over there that you just saw, and I'll bring it into here. I'll regulate it, and then I'll send it out to the air cylinder there. Down here are the solenoids that are responsible for giving the air to each left and right brush. See that says right rear oscillator there, and then there is a left rear oscillator switch. On some vehicles, like wagons, SUVs, vans, it washes the vehicle differently where it will alternate the rear brushes. It'll bring in the right side and then it'll bring in the left, just so I can get the center of the rear better. Whereas like on pickups and sedans, they'll just bring both rear brushes in at the same time and then they're done. But there's some switching going on to where it turns one off and then turns on the other. And this is where I get my air lines to tap into. These upper lines here are what go to each brush. So this is the line I'll be tapping into. All right, well here's the line from that said solenoid. I got it going in the back of the regulator there and then out to the air cylinder. I replaced it with a piece of clear line that I had, and then I forgot I had a whole roll of the black stuff. So yeah, I go straight into the side that pushes in. I'll give you a tip, by the way, if you need to replace these air cylinders, because yeah, they do get tired after a while or leak internally, whatnot. Save your part number and stick it on the cylinder so it's just right there at your disposal. And then I always write the date of when I replace something. And another thing, there's these brackets that the end of the cylinder pivots on. You'll see a pin here. Move up here, there's a cotter pin on top. And from the factory, it's actually, the pin comes down from the top and the cotter pin goes below. But to disassemble the air cylinder, it is from the factory, it requires you to remove this whole bracket plate to take this cotter pin stuff out because this arm, the metal of this arm is in the way. So when I put it back together, I actually inverted the pin so I can skip removing this whole plate on the back with the 4 bolts there. And I can just put the pin in from the bottom, slide the cotter pin up top, and it's done. It turns a 45-minute air cylinder replacement into a 5-minute one if you do that. I picked a gauge. I was trying to get the biggest one I could without hitting this regulator knob here. A 2-inch works pretty good, how I have it set up. Just something I can read that I can stand 10 feet away without standing in the bay during the car wash and watch it. I picked a 60 PSI gauge because these need about 45 PSI, and I painted this nice red line on there so I can see that from a distance too and see if they're a-okay, and if I need to fine tune, I'll give the knob a twist. So I hope that fixes my problem because man, does that one brush push really hard. I ran a new piece of air line because the other one is hidden like inside this thing somewhere. I don't even know how to get to it or even shove a new one in, so I'm going to put it up top here and zip tie that down. That's the line that I got fed into the regulator, and then I have this piece coming from the air cylinder up there. Plug that in, and hopefully after that everything will be hunky-dory after a fine-tuning of the regulators. Pro tip, by the way, all these screws that hold the whole machine together, like stuff like that, put some anti-seize on it. Focus, focus, focus. Put some anti-seize on the threads a little bit, because these aluminum nut things here, these guys, if you're not careful, they will get corroded to the point where you can't. Here's the back side of it right there, right in the center of the screen. You go to break the screw loose and you're going to break that thing clean off, and then you can't get your screw off, and that sucks. So if you use anti-seize and then snug them down lightly, you won't have that issue there. I learned that the hard way. So anti-seize. That's more than plenty. What is that? 40? That's good. Let's say 35, 40. Oh. Okay, that's good. Come on, brush, get out of there. Okay, we got 40. Nice. Take two. Looks like 40. Can't see. Oh, it's like 40. Right where I set him. Okay. Wait for it to come back. Oh, I'm gonna get wet. A little under 40. Huh. I should have watched that right side. I think I was pushing a little hard. Yeah, so I ran a few cars through the wash, and I think I got it dialed in pretty good where the back brushes are pushing a lot more evenly and no more squeaking on the back, which makes me very happy, because before, this back brush on the right hand side would push so dang hard that some vehicles, once it got to the middle of the back bumper or so, it could actually stop turning. It was pushing so hard. And there's some older trucks that have license plate lights that kind of snap into the back bumper, and it would grip those and pretty much rip them off the vehicle. It was pushing so hard, it was ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Like I say, they're both fed off the same airline. It just splits into a V or a T and then goes to each air cylinder. So I don't know if it had a kink in the old airline or something like that. I never did pull that airline out, by the way. I just routed a new one in a different location is all. So I didn't see the condition of the old airline, but I wonder if the airline over here had a kink in it, affecting the operation between the two. Because I know if one is pushing really hard, let's say if I set that one too high a pressure, that one will get very little, and vice versa. So I wonder if it's something to do with a kinked line or something like that. So, oh well, it's got a brand new line and a pressure regulator now, and if I need to fine tune later, I can. It's right there on the outside, big deal. So yes, very pleased.